Looking good, Italian job.
Feeling good, Tommy boy. How are you, sir?
I'm great, brother. Enjoying this balmy spring weather. I hope you are as well.
You're just sweating like a pig, but yes, enjoying it with half of the nation under a deep freeze and digging through literal snow tunnels in their COTs. If you haven't seen that yet, you got to check that out. That's pretty cool. But no,
that was
enjoying it as well.
Name-a-rama. Yes,
it
indeed.
Sure was.
Well, look, we're fired up today. We've got a big panel today. We're going to dive into some really great conversation about our second core principle. Before we get to that, though, why don't you update us on some of the news of the nation from today's email drop?
Awesome. So yeah, News of the Nation, you guys, if you haven't seen it yet, there's some pretty cool stuff in there. We mentioned last week the Sandlot Jacksonville. It's a Go Ruck event, and they're partnered up with Rogue Fitness, Savage Race. And then F3 is a part of it. Dred's going to be a guest speaker, but I wanted to mention one cool thing that they're doing. You know, we'll do just about anything for a patch or for a t-shirt. There's something that they're doing. This is in April 22nd through the 24th in Jacksonville. And there are 9 different Go Ruck events going on during that weekend, a bunch of fitness stuff. But the cool thing that they've got is something called the Go Ruck Nasty, which is what I plan on doing. It's an obstacle course in downtown Jacksonville. It has some rogue challenges, 2 laps around TIAA Bank Field, which is where the Jacksonville Jaguars play, and then another turn through the obstacle course. And when you complete it, you get a patch. So I'm all in on that one. And I wanted to mention we've got a discount, Sunshine_F3. It saves you 20%. And I mentioned it last week. It saves you $40. And then they give $40 back to F3 Nation. So if you're interested in doing that, you can go to sandlotjax.com. It's upcoming in April. Also, the new F3 logo for 2022 just came out. So that shirt order is open through February the 14th. There's a great message from Angus in this week's newsletter talking about connection is the method. And if you haven't seen a guy in a while, it's just a good reminder that men are at home and they want to keep up with their fellas, with their buddies. If they're not in the gloom, they still want to hear from you. So reach out to a guy you haven't seen in a while. We added a 5th continent to the expansion globe. We've added a couple or 3 new regions: Seoul, South Korea, Wichita, Kansas, and Tulsa, Oklahoma. And then the Go Ruck event that's next on the list is March 25th through 27th in Greenville, North Carolina. The Q Source topic is preparedness. And the last piece is some regional news. Princeton, New Jersey was featured in the news. And one of the guys that was featured in that article is part of our esteemed panel today. I just figured I would mention that. I've said a whole lot in a brief amount of time. I'm heavily caffeinated. TV, back to you.
Love it. And without further ado, let's dive into it because this is a great topic to get into. Before we talk about the second core principle, we need to talk about the first core principle, right? Which is free of charge. And the reason, if you don't know that it's free of charge and that's first, is because right out of the gate, F3 removes a very big barrier of entry for a lot of other fitness studios and health coaches and so on and so forth. That's not what we do. We opened it up with 0 charge, which takes us to our second core principle, which is that F3 is open to all men. And the best definition I can give you of what that means is to quote OBT, which is all men means all men. So I think, squeezed in as many guys as we could fit on a Zoom call in one clip today. Let's go and do a kind of standard name-a-rama of our guest today. Ditka, if you'll kick us off, please.
Reg 51, Ditka.
Where are you, Ditka?
Respect.
Dayton, Ohio.
Dayton,
Ohio. All right, Akron.
Council, yeah, I'm unmuted. Council Glenn, 38, Akron, Greensboro, North Carolina.
Akron. Square, what you got, Square?
Terrence Floyd, 41, Square, Greensboro, North Carolina, live and in color.
Square.
And we just mentioned him, but ScarU, kick us off again, man.
Mark Rubenstein, 48, ScarU from F3 Princeton.
Outstanding.
ScarU, nice.
And Swobbles.
Greg, 33, Swobbles.
Swobbles.
Oh,
Also out of Dayton.
Good
Dayton,
deal.
Ohio. It's funny talking to the Dayton guys, especially being in North Carolina, where our license plates say that we were first in flight. But I know you guys can boast the Wright brothers. So if you sense some tension today on the call, that's why, guys. Thanks for being a part of this conversation. This is the biggest panel we've had on Stuff Worth Trying, and it's for a big topic that is near and dear to all of our hearts, which is why you're here in the first place. But this idea of F3 being open to all men, you just heard Italian Job rattle off these great new growth models. We're in Seoul, South Korea now. So all of a sudden, F3 is rapidly not only responding to the challenge to hit that 250,000 men across the globe by 2025, but that puts us in a position where F3 looks and sounds like a lot of different people. And that's what really gets my heart fired up about what we're doing, is bridging gaps that currently the way things might be structured. We now have a chance to fix all that and to optimize and expand upon male fellowship. So thanks again for being here. Let's do this. And no rhyme or reason here. I'm not going to call on anybody. If you feel moved to speak, let's dive in. Each of you has done something in your region or regions that has impacted what your region looks like and how you've expanded into outreach for all men. Who wants to talk about how their heart was led into expanding and opening F3 to all men?
Yeah, I can go first. April of last year, beginning of April, we knew that we wanted to, how can we increase the amount of guys coming to our queues, our workouts, and I had this great idea that I was going to go to this local park. It's a beautiful park. You see people there all day long. So I was going to do it Tuesdays and Thursdays, no matter what, and for the entire month of April. And talked to Swobbles. He gave me some suggestions on how to do that. And it was the coldest month of April ever. Didn't work out very well, but you know what? I was still out there. I still had my other F3 brothers come in and give me some support, learn what it's like to run a workout by yourself. But I think it helped me as a leader to know when this comes around again, it's not going to be in April. It's going to be a little bit warmer, but I learned a lot from being able to do that.
Nice. Yeah, it's once you put yourself outside of your comfort zone, cool things start happening real quick. Who else we got?
I'll jump in there. Go ahead, ScarU.
No, you hit it. You hit it. I'm next.
Well, yeah, so we started Wakanda 2019. Me and Paula Dean just started a conversation there as far as, what can we do? Well, it was actually him. He came to me and was like, what can we do to get more squares out here? And so that started a conversation. And then we kind of brainstormed about, I think that was later. So we brought in Gilligan, and then we brought in Tommy Boy, might have been vice versa. And we met for maybe 4 or 5 months, just kind of brainstorming what does it look like to start another AO. And then ideas were just coming all over the place. Let's make it accessible. There were no AOs on the predominantly black side of town. Greensboro, no different than any other major city, is still racially segregated by location and just demographics. And so all the AOs, even myself, I had to generally drive, 15, 20 minutes to the nearest AO unless they were downtown. But there were none on the east side of Greensboro. So that's where our heart was. We wanted to be strategic and placing an AO there. And that's what birthed Wakanda. And then, we just, put some ideas behind that. So.
Awesome. So, where we are in New Jersey, just being open to all men and living in a diverse area, it's not something we've really had to work hard at, yet there are areas and there's blind spots that we all have. So I think it all starts with creating a welcoming space where literally anybody can come. I don't care your age, your culture, your religion, your sexuality, your economic background, whether you have hair or you don't have hair, whatever. is that you're creating that space where people just are welcomed and as a brother, regardless of any of that. And I think, Dos Equis started our group in 2019 and with Four Seasons and Wally and spending time with C-SPAN in Philadelphia. And I feel like, they started that. And I think, the more people that came, we realized and that was what we envisioned as that's what we wanted all to be a part of, was just this space where everyone was welcome, comfortable. And listen, we still have work to do, but people know that when they come to visit us, they're gonna be welcomed with open arms, no matter where they come from or what they're about or any of the stuff I mentioned. So, you have to say it, you got to mean it. So when we say open to all men, we mean open to all men. So,
Jay, what you got, man?
Yeah, so I have a question. For those who aren't watching on Zoom and can't see the faces, we have men ranging in age. I would say our youngest guy's in his 30s and our oldest guy might be, we've already mentioned, in his 50s. And we also have different ethnicities. We have African-American, we have white guys, we have guys from different religious backgrounds. But I want to ask the question that we don't ask enough. And I want to ask this question of Akron, because I spent several hours under the log with Akron when we were at Grow Ruck and Myrtle Beach and Grand Strand. Akron, when you showed up for your first workout and you looked around the circle, how many white guys versus African Americans did you see? And how did you feel, being that you probably didn't see everybody who looked like you? How does it feel to show up at a workout where it is predominantly a certain way? What did you notice on your first workout?
First workout was actually a convergence, which makes it a bit worse because you probably have over 100 guys. And I think it was just me, you, and Square. Root. Yeah, me, you, and Root Square, who it may have been 2 or 3 others, but 6 to 10 out of 100. Those are some very intimidating numbers. Me personally, I felt okay with it. But just through my involvement in F3, I know for more African Americans to come out and be comfortable coming out, those dynamics needed to change. So it was okay. I knew what it was going into it. That was kind of part of the reason, Square kind of rolled out his Rolodex with the launch of Wakanda. And so I would say at that moment, that's probably when Greensboro changed for the better, to an extent, as far as, that second core principle, because you weren't the only Black guy to show up at a workout. And there was a good chance, you won't be, to this day. It's nothing to see 4 or 5, African Americans at a workout, and it's normal, And I think that's opened up a lot of conversations, a lot of opportunities for things that we've done, like F3 talks and some of the ruck marches we've done, and some of the conversations we had. But yeah, first workout, convergence, 6 African Americans out of 100. It was a wake up call.
So Square, I know you were all in when someone said, "Hey, you want to post for the first workout?" You're like, "Yeah, what time? I'll be there." Do you have the same reaction from your friends that you invite out? Because I specifically have a coworker of mine. He said, "Hey, man, I'd love to work out with you sometime." And he said, "You're that group of white guys that get together wearing all black and 5 o'clock in the morning. I don't know if I really want to do that." Do you have that reaction when you approach one of your friends, regardless of their age, or their gender? I'm sorry, their race or their religious background? Do you have that reaction from folks who say, "I'm not really into that because it's a bunch of white dudes"?
So yeah, great question. Well, of course not now, because the ratios have shifted. And in the beginning, I wouldn't say I was all in. I wish he was here. Nomex could speak on it. I had built a great relationship with Nomex. And this was, after 2016, 2017, you had, there was just a lot of different incidences involving police brutality had went down. And so I was open to, all right, I know the media, they were driving the narrative. I just wanted to be open to the idea of building relationships with people who didn't look like me. So when he invited me out, I didn't know what to expect. But I knew that over the 3 or 4 lunches that I had with him, and we were just talking about race, and, this is probably the most woke. And actually, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but this is about the most woke white guy I had ever met. I mean, he put me on to like 2 or 3 podcasts I had never heard of before. And I was just like, he invited me to anything. I would have done it. Put it like that. And so the timing was just perfect. And so my first workout, Paula Dean, he was the actual cue of the first workout. And then the guys, they were just so welcoming and they were just so open. Everyone came up. People wanted to do coffee. And I think the timing of it, Akron, I had just ended my membership with AWOL at 5:30 in the morning. And I was paying $125 a month. And I'm like, man, this is free. So I was like, I can just do this. So that played a part of it too. So yeah, it was a combination of those things. And then, I mean, I'm a risk taker by nature. And so being the only black guy out there, I mean, yeah, I went to predominantly white high school. Like, I can move in different environments. And so I made sure I wasn't the token black guy, put it like that. So I was comfortable in the space.
I think that's what made the growth so successful when it came to F3 Greensboro was that it started with friendship, right? Which and fellowship, which is obviously one of our F's. And I think that still permeates in a lot of what's happened since. To quote Akron, you open your Rolodex, right? It was always through friendships. When anybody would ever ask, how did we grow Wakanda? It was as simple as ask a guy. I mean, there really is no secret sauce when it came to that rapid growth. When Wakanda really started taking off, was just remembering like this isn't about anything other than asking a guy and making what we have as a group accessible to more and more guys. And that certainly speaks in your friendship with Nomex. Swobbles, you had reached out, you and I talked actually about this time last year, if I'm not mistaken. What was it that drew you to expand the accessibility of F3 Dayton?
So for me, it was during 2020, a lot of racial issues had come to the forefront, and it just, I don't know, it just kind of broke my heart, if I'm being honest. Like, my reality is different from other people's realities. And truth be told, I don't think a lot of people understand that. I had to go out of my way to learn that. But to look around, and it might have been an F3 podcast where I heard it, like, or someone may have said it, like, take a look around. It's a whole lot of guys that look just like you. And that just kind of stuck with me. So I tried to lead a group to essentially do what you did with the Wakanda AO. I think that's the name of it. So tried to get that going, but it was in the middle of 2020 during the pandemic, and we actually didn't have a leadership team at the time. We didn't even know those existed. So from there, it's been like setting up our leadership team, and now we're trying to get consistency, and it has not left my radar. It's something I want to get back to focusing on, because I simply want to make it available to all men. It shouldn't just be one category of men.
The idea too is, guys, listen, it really is about just being aware, right? It's doing the hard stuff, and the hard stuff sometimes, let's be honest, if I'm by nature an introvert, it's hard for me to go up and talk to a stranger. The fact that I love what F3 has done for me makes it a little bit easier. But if I'm being honest with myself, how often am I putting myself in a position where I'm talking to a stranger about F3? It's easy to go up to a coworker that I at least have made eye contact in the hallways with. But what happens when I go and I'm rucking and I chase down a guy who's jogging around the lake, pull an Olaf and chase some stranger down and try to tell him in the dark about this free workout group that he should come and check out. But I think it's some of those EHs, and those are some of my favorite ones when guys actually show up. Ajay, I stepped on your toes. You were going to say something?
I was just going to ask this question to ScarU. being that you're in the Northeast, and the men on this call, several of the men on this call are here in the Carolinas, and we are familiar with. It's one of the questions you tend to ask right off the bat, being from the South. So what church do you attend? It just comes up in conversation. It's no different than asking who's your favorite college football team in the South.
Right.
These are questions we ask each other.
Right.
But that's probably because we grew up in the Bible Belt, where everybody goes to either the Baptist church, the AME Zion church, the Methodist church, the Presbyterian church, whatever. But when I see the posts from the men up in New Jersey, it's a different group. It's a group of men from different religious backgrounds. So what does your group look like? And the faith element being open to all men, does that the word faith scare men away from posting the first time because they're afraid it might be of the Christian faith?
Right. Well, it's interesting. You're talking to a guy who was raised Jewish. My wife was raised Catholic. Now we're practicing Unitarians, which is a very liberal, Christianity. So, for me, that's never been an issue. But we are, I think we're, we definitely come from, there's a high Asian community, in our area. Over 50%, I'd say 55% is Asian. And there's not a huge African-American Black population in where we live in our town, but close by in Trenton, it's that those numbers are reversed, so that always bothers me in the sense that, I think the men of Trenton could also benefit, so we have to do better at going into Trenton or even starting in Trenton so that they have the same opportunities that we have in a different socioeconomic area, So yeah, religion is definitely something that some of us are a part of and some of us don't have a faith. But I'm actually as part of the SLT, I'm the third F leader. And the way that I approach it, and I think the way we approach it as a group, is we are, community, faith, and action. So you're showing your faith by what you do, by how you treat your neighbor, by the service activities you do, by learning about other faiths. I think that's what's really cool. We have a gentleman by the name of Cruiser. He's of the Sikh faith. So he teaches us about the Sikh faith. And when he's doing a prayer, it's a Sikh prayer at the end of, COT. So, and I think it's okay to share your faith when you're in the group, but it's out of respect that it's not one, right? When whoever's leading can really share their view, not their views, but their prayer, and we're to learn from that, and we're open to that. So I think again, we have growth we need to do in definitely some areas, but we just have that message that we are open to all men, and we're removing barriers, in a lot of different ways. But yeah, it's an interesting group. We even do our workouts have themes. Like we theme the workout on, depending on, we just did a Black History Month. And again, that's just not really doing the work, but it's showing you that when you come to a workout, this is what we believe. Right. So it's like the themes really help communicate that message, because it's hard to, otherwise, I think, to the community but saying, hey, we do this, we had this workout. It's not just to say you did it. It's because it's what we believe in,
You said growth, and I think it's said a lot, but if we're not growing, we're dying, right? And so it's got to always be about expanding and inviting new guys, regardless of anything else. You a dude? Yep. You want to come do some stupid stuff in the dark? Sure, why not? Come on out. We've got a home for you.
I got a question for you guys. I'll pose back to you. Like, do we need to be more strategic about reaching out to communities of color or other communities in different socioeconomic areas? I think we do need to. That's my opinion, because you can create that comfortable space, but doesn't mean people are necessarily going to come. So how do we reach out? I think that's what I want to ask you guys is, is I want to learn from you, ways you think we can expand in that realm. All of
Yeah, I'll
us.
bounce that one to Akron or Square, whoever wants to take that, because
I got it.
I know what they're going to say, and it's important for guys to hear.
Yep.
So me and Square, we need to copyright this phrase probably, but if you don't have Asian, African American, Hispanic, Chinese, if you don't have one of those friends you can invite to dinner, you don't have one you can EH. It's about relationships.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're going to get that one-off stranger like you got Demo, Tommy Boy, but relationships is the best way. What made Square come out? His relationship with Nomex. Square EH me. What made me come out? I've known him for 10 years. If he says it's cool, all right, let's check it out. Relationships. That's what makes it stick. If you don't have one of those guys in your circle that you can invite to dinner, you probably don't have one you can EH.
Akron, I love that. Gosh, that's so good. Because how many times do people show up? And I'm speaking as a person who's been on a mission trip. I can't imagine what it must seem like when this great white hope shows up. We're going to come and fix the problems. That's not the point. It's not to show up and say, I'm here to be the savior. Nope. If you want to invest in a community and want to build those relationships, you want to see more men in your community that look like your community, it's exactly what Akron just said. It's having that relationship, not just showing up and saying, hey guys, we're here. Man, I can see right through someone's BS when they're just out there to bang their own chests and say, look what I'm doing. It's building those relationships. And I love the concept of, if you don't have that guy you would invite to dinner with your family, then you don't have the relationship to bring a guy to show up at a workout first thing in the morning. Love that, Akron. Love that, Square.
Good stuff. Yeah.
Swobbles, you at one point had your hand up. Did you want to jump in?
Yeah, so I had it up before and then I had another thing. So jumping back real quick to what ScarU was talking about, one of the things I like to do after workouts, especially if we have someone new, I make it very clear that the third F is faith, but that just means something bigger than yourself. So this man might pray us out today. That doesn't mean you have to. If you want to step up and cue the workout, you can lead us out however you want. You can give us a quote. You can end in a minute of silence, however you want. So I like to make that really clear, especially when we have new guys join the workout. And then the second thing, based off of what Akron was saying, which was really awesome and a great point, question on that. So how do you genuinely approach that and genuinely try to create those relationships? Like, where do you start?
Good question. Square, do you want to start this one? I mean, I've got my thoughts, but I'd love to hear you. Just because I know your history with Nomex and how that grew organically, but also authentically.
So I got an interesting answer to this question. We are here. That is not our problem to figure out. Like Nomex. It's like when your wife is upset, you need to find out why she was upset. Like, that's your problem. And then once you find out why she's upset, now you have to figure out a way to fix it. Like, if you don't have relationships, you want us to, like, if the problem is I don't have enough relationships with people of color, now you want to reach people of color. How do I develop relationships with people of color? How do you develop relationships with anybody else?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, I think that's good. And I remember, if I can jump in, Square, and cut me off when you need to. I remember how weird it got at that Chick-fil-A when we were trying to figure out what Wakanda was going to be. And we were kind of bantering back and forth, arguing over the dumbest stuff. Where was it going to be? What day? When were we going to launch it? And then I think it was Paula Dean said, well, then what is our mission with Wakanda? Because we went down this weird rabbit hole where it was like, what if we launch and a bunch of kids show up and get dropped off? Well, then we're just going to modify and we're going to have like a kids camp. And we're, oh, no, that's not F3. That's a wonderful third F thing down the road, or service op, but that's not what we're. So I think it was Paula Dean that said, what is our mission? And that's when that word accessible. We're just trying to make this accessible. And then the natural byproduct of being authentic and accessible is you find yourself in these positions. And then, like you said, it's up to you at that point to say, hi, my name's Corey. They call me Tommy Boy out here. Glad you're here, and keep pressing on, just like any old relationship. Be authentic, pursue the person, shut up and listen more than you talk. And I mean, that's how I have built all my friends. A lot of guys would say I talk too much. Two of them are on this call, but I love what you said.
Can I back up a little bit? Not to be short, not just you. I wasn't directing my comment to you per se, Swobbles. It was more so, just I get that question quite a bit, and we're all men at the end of the day. We all have the same issues. We're all just trying to, love on our families. We're trying to pay bills. We're trying to stay somewhat halfway decent fit, right? And society, the media, has created this division to make it look like one race is so much different than the other. And that's what I chose not to buy into. So when I was going to workouts, I was looking like, I did see a bunch of white guys, but I was like, man, these are some crazy ass dudes out here 5:30 in the morning. This might be something I could get with. Cause I'm crazy too. We all just crazy together. And we doing burpees. So it's like, that's the energy I decided to put forward. And that's the energy I got back. And if other people want to make it about race, then that's their issue, but I didn't make it. And I did recognize that I was the only black guy. But once I did make that an issue, it wasn't an issue for anyone else. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And then that's why I could easily invite Root. I could invite Akron. And then I was like, man, I got to bring some of these other guys, and not because they were black guys, because they were in my network. They were in my circle. So I was just like, I got to go tell people about this. I can't be the only one that knows about this. And so I look at Nomex. His heart was in the right place. His as far as he knew that his belief system, things that he was taught, his belief system, his political, his core values, that stuff was off based on what he was seeing in society. And I think you mentioned it earlier, Swobbles. So he reached out and he sought things that would challenge his belief system, and that's what developed our relationships.
Yeah, so
I don't know things
practically that may look like, purposely befriending an African American coworker or Asian or Chinese coworker. And then I know a lot of times, birds of a feather flock together. You may not even have opportunities because it may be predominantly white, work environment. You may be virtual, but that's when you have to seek out opportunities like Nomex did and go to a Can We Talks or something that brings those individuals together in one place. It may not be as convenient as, going to the water cooler or going to the cafeteria at work, or you may have to seek out outside external opportunities to engage with people of other ethnicities, other races, other religions, and genuinely build a friendship, not just to invite to F3, but to genuinely get to know.
Yeah, I think.
And if they happen to come, great.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Where we're at, again, it happens naturally just because we're in a diverse area. But I wonder, again, in those areas that aren't diverse, they might want it, but it's tough to still get it. But I like your point about that you have to seek those opportunities. That's a really good point. And hey, if they're not in our work, or they're not at our church, well, maybe we've got to go to the next town and try to find a space where we can connect with people, because that's what it's all about, is that relationship, social connection that you have. It's very rarely just like a cold sell, like the guy running through the park. Like, it's usually the most successful EHs are the ones where see, I have the opportunity in my office. I have patients of all different areas come in, and where they're done with their PT, I'm like, and what are you doing next? And I have plenty of men, that need to work on their social aspect and their health. And I'm like, this is a great opportunity, But yeah, I think that's those are excellent points that you guys have made. So
Someone's not going to
I've-
come running to you asking for help, right? You're going to have to go out and seek that. And, you can see it on guys' face. Right now, I just feel like I got a flock of guys that I'm close to going through divorce, right? Just feeling so low. And, I give them my testimony, and they're just about there, but we got to go outside of our comfort zone a lot and make ourselves vulnerable and talk. And I think giving our testimony helps as well to really anyone who will listen.
I think I don't think Square you purposely mentioned this, but as soon as I heard you say it, I thought a burpee doesn't discriminate, regardless of what you look like.
Not
a
at
burpee
all.
sucks. A burpee
Equal
sucks.
opportunity.
That's
Yeah.
right. I will
Bear
tell you.
crawl.
That's right. When you're
Yeah.
sharing this suffering together, that's what builds those bonds. You tend to forget about whatever society tells you or whatever you see on TV, how you're supposed to treat each other or what you're supposed to think of each other. When you're doing burpees and bear crawls and you're doing this stuff at 5 o'clock in the morning, you're there with your brother and he's suffering just as much as you are. And at the end, you embrace and you lift each other up with encouragement. We tend to
Right.
forget
Absolutely.
all those lies that we've been told because you realize these guys are just my brothers, period, plain and simple, regardless of what you believe, your sexual orientation, the color of your skin, the church you attend or do not attend, the socioeconomic status, the neighborhood you live in. When you're embracing the suck next to another guy, all that stuff fades away.
2,000-pound log holds no regard over what a guy believes. It does not draw lines. It crushes everyone all the same. We kind of
Right.
covered it naturally. I was going to throw out if anybody, because I know like the guys who are invested in this conversation are going to want to ask about any roadblocks you've hit or any speed bumps across the way as your heart has called you to make your region look like your community. Anybody have any narrative they want to share or just some advice they want to share for guys who are looking to expand their regions?
I can share a little piece of advice. When that one or two Black guys or the Latino guys, when they do finally decide to come out, do not be so quick to put the burden of society's racial issues on that person and just bombard them with a bunch of questions and just hope they have the answers that you can easily go grab a book or a professional. Let them just come out and be one of the guys. And if they decide to take more of a leadership role or decide to queue, don't even force them to queue, right? Someone mentioned it earlier, when I come out here, I just want to be one of the guys. So just let them be one of the guys until they let you know different.
Anybody else? Surely we've all hit roadblocks.
Well, we've hit a roadblock, but we haven't overcome the roadblock yet. So I'll share. The roadblock is we live close to this Trenton community that it's too far for them to drive to us. So that's why, and I think it should be accessible to all men. That's not accessible. So what does that mean? That means we need to invest and start something there so that people can show up and they can have the same opportunities in that community that we do here. But we all know that that is just starting any other region. It takes a lot of energy, So I think, that's something that's close to my heart. I want everyone to have the same opportunity that I had. So.
Because you have a former troubadour on the call here. Italian Jobs knows how to mustard seed the snot out of a new region, and I think that's what you're talking about. In Greensboro, we've been lucky to launch surrounding communities. Burlington comes to mind, High Point, but then we've also gone farther. Omaha. Last week we talked with Wait Time, but that's definitely a find a need, fill a need opportunity. Mustard seed is, watching a group of guys show up for the first time and stumble through their first workout and just be dudes together and figure out, oh, this isn't just a workout. Something kind of cool just happened here at that COT. I mean, that's magic sauce right there. That's the accelerant that just lights the fire.
Tommy boy,
Italian
you
Job,
and
do
I
you
have
have any
talked.
thoughts on? Yeah, go for
Yeah,
it.
I was going to say you and I have talked about it in the past. At some point, we're going to have an F3 in Tokyo, Japan. And let me tell you guys the difference between the Asian culture in Tokyo, Japan, and very regimented and following certain rules, and you cross at the crosswalk at the exact same time. Whereas Americans, we just do whatever we want. We take the mindset of, oh, you want to do it, then just go and do it. There's going to be an issue that comes up. We drive everywhere in the United States. We hop in a car and drive across town. When we're in a major metropolitan city like Tokyo, where are you going to put it? Where are you going to plant that flag? And that's another question. What does the flag look like? You plant an American flag? You plant in a Japanese flag? I mean, these are all things that are going to come up, and we do not have the answers. We certainly do not have the answers. But Tommy and Boy and I say this all the time. Does it follow the mission? Are you following the credo? Do you hit all 5 core principles? Then whatever it looks like is what it looks like. If that means that you have a paddleboard AO, awesome. You have a kayak AO, great. You have an AO where you run, where you do burpees, whatever it is, it's going to look different. And we're going to learn from all these different circumstances and scenarios. But it all comes down to exactly what Akron, Square, Ditka, Swobbles, and ScarU have said. You build those relationships and you open the door and say, come, regardless. Bring your struggles, bring your challenges, if you have prejudices, bring them. Let's talk about it. But it all comes down to opening up, welcoming a man, because are you a man? Then yes. Are you welcome? Then yes. But what if, are you a man? Yes. Then you're welcome. Let's go. So we're going to get there. There's going to be questions that come up, questions we haven't even contemplated yet. But as long as you're following those core principles, you can't go wrong.
You can disagree, but an F3 guy is not going to act in a way that is disagreeable towards another guy just because he believes different. That's Duke versus Carolina basketball, and nobody wins in that conversation except Duke. But well, fellas, look, I could talk about this all day. And if you don't mind, I'd love to share all of your Twitter handles when we drop this podcast this coming Saturday, so that guys can reach out, because, you know, the thing about building the next 43 feet of road is that people are looking to use your acceleration to further accelerate themselves. And because we don't pay for F3, we don't own F3, it's not ours to keep. We're called to give it away. So I know that there's going to be a lot of guys looking for ideas. There's probably a ton of guys who have had ideas that they're going to want to get out to. That's what this Stuff Worth Trying movement is all about, whether it's F3 SWT on Twitter, whether it's through the YouTube channel where we drop the video podcasts, whether it's just good old fashioned email or phone call. You know, reach out. All of you are here on this call. It started with either a text or a tweet or a DM or whatnot. You know, I'm just lucky that I live in the same region with Akron and Square. Allow yourself to be challenged. I mean, that we're here today talking about being open to all men, and that can be challenging. You know, Lord knows just raising a family is challenging. Anytime you invite another party into your life, you just escalate the challenge. But the F3 man is called to be different. And that means being open and being humble with it. So I can't thank each of you enough. I'll give you the floor back if you have any final thoughts. Go for it. And then Italian Job, if you have a challenge worth trying this week, we'll go from there and we'll land the plane. So fellas, again, thank you. If any of you have a final thought, let's go ahead and throw it out there.
Final thought from me would just be, I think it all boils down to respect. Start with respect, and all this stuff, we can all work together to move forward.
My final thought is, as we're all leaders, if you're seeing something that's not right, fix it right then and there.
To that point, one thing I wanted to add to the last thing we were talking about is don't be afraid to like call out when something's done or said that could offend someone of another race, religion, right then and there, or if you feel, you know, after COT or something. But I know we've renamed guys just because of things that weren't right, or we've renamed exercises just because it was offensive. Like, don't be afraid to change it or call something out to make it open to all men.
Success is on the other side of your comfort zone. Be willing to be uncomfortable start being comfortable with being uncomfortable.
So, Akron, you said you stole my thunder. I was going to say silence is deemed acceptance. If someone says something that's inappropriate and everyone stands around and looks down at the ground, then to the person who felt like it was against them or offensive, they think everybody around this circle feels the same way. So it's important. It's imperative. That's not right. To have that, to stand up and say that's not right, regardless if you are offended, if it has a chance of offending someone else, it's as a leader, it's our job to take up, to stand up, to speak up, to do what's appropriate, to say what's right. To echo what TB was just saying, honored to share this time with you guys today. Honored to know each one of you men. I've met many of you guys in person. I've met a few of you guys on Zoom prior to this call, but regardless, I'm honored to be associated with high impact men like you and your communities. We are called to be the leaders. We are called to step up when the world steps out. And that's what we do. We step up to the challenge when others don't. And the challenge we're trying this week, how about let's EH a guy that may not look like you, may not think like you, may not live in your neighborhood, may not attend the same religious service. Why don't you talk to that guy? And starting with a relationship, building that relationship, EH that guy. Because it doesn't matter what you look like and where you come from and how much money you have and what you drive and what shoes you wear. We all need other men in our lives to encourage us to be better men. And F3 is the antidote. It is the cure for what ails society today. The lack of male leadership, the fact that we feel that we've got the weight of the world on our shoulders. And when you're around other men, like the men on this call today, you're spreading that burden out and you are there to encourage each other, to lift each other up. So again, that challenge we're trying, talk to the guy that may not think like you, may not look like you, and bring him out to a workout, or maybe even go to one of his locations. If he's part of a social club, if he's part of a civic club or a networking event, maybe you step out of your comfort zone. Don't anticipate that he's just going to come to what you're inviting him to. Why don't you go to the thing that he's passionate about and build that relationship first? Because if you listen to a man's story, the next question he's going to ask after telling his story is, well, why don't you tell me about yours? And that's how it works, fellas. You go to the things that matter to them. You build that relationship because we're men and we care about each other. And then who knows, maybe that opens up the door that you can invite him out to what you're passionate about. Maybe that's F3.
Well said. Fellas, never forget that your vulnerability can lead to another man's validation. You never know who you're going to impact when you allow yourself a little space to be vulnerable. Gentlemen, on behalf of Italian Job, I love each of you guys. Thanks for carving out time today to be a part of the Stuff Worth Trying podcast. Looking forward to seeing what next steps come out of this conversation. Italian Job, be good or be good at it, brother.